Welcome to Brain Health Unchaining Your Pain live training and Q&A. My name is Dr Ruth Mary Allen. I'm executive coach, motivational speaker and trainer, and it is absolute pleasure to be with you here today. My background is I'm also a certified brain health professional. Pleasure. So just as I was saying, I'm sorry about the background noise. I didn't realise that was going to happen. Welcome to Brain Health Unchaining Your Pain live training and Q&A. And you can tell it's live because I've just made a massive boo-boo. The topic here on this live Q&A is how to plan for success this year and beyond. And as I said, my name is Dr Ruth Mary Allen. I'm executive coach, motivational speaker and trainer. I'm also a certified brain health professional and brain health trainer through the Amen Clinics, certified high performance coach and Havening techniques practitioner. If you have any questions here today, then please do make sure that you post your comments in whatever platform you're watching this on, or you post below the training to make sure that I can answer those during this session. So just in terms of what we're going to talk about today is really I'm going to help you understand the importance of deciding what you want this year in terms of what do you want to get out of the year, really? What is it you're really looking forward to? What is it you want to have accomplished? And then to really help you learn how you can build an effective plan to get what you want. And then finally is really to help you discover the strategy and steps that you can really take to help you get there. And we're really going to approach this through the lens of brain health, because often people set these New Year's resolutions at the beginning of the year, and then within like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 months, those New Year's resolutions have fallen over and they're just really frustrated with the fact that they've not accomplished what they set out to do. The resolutions have gone by the wayside. And so people feel like they've fallen off the wagon and they just don't know how to get on, or perhaps they've lost the motivation to get on. Now, why does that happen? Well, it happens because we set resolutions typically based on us looking back at what we didn't accomplish last year. So we're already in a negative mindset to say, okay, I didn't do this last year, so I'm going to set myself the task to do it this year, which is okay if that's what you want. But often there's no association between the resolution people set themselves and actually what they want out of that year. And that's why it's really easy for our resolutions to fall over, because there's no emotional draw, there's no emotional attachment, there's no emotion associated with it other than shaming yourself and blaming yourself that you haven't accomplished it. So this session here, this webinar, is all about helping you get in the right mindset, whether you're at the beginning of the year, the middle or the end of the year, to help you plan for success and leveraging your brain power and leveraging the tools that are in this presentation to really help you set yourself up for success so that you can truly get what you want. So let's just dive in a little bit to session etiquette first. Please do not record this presentation or take photos. This is a safe haven for everyone who's here, and the information presented is copyrighted. Please post any questions that you have below this webinar in the chat so that we can answer as many questions as possible. And if we can't answer them during the session, then we'll answer them after the session. Please be polite in the chat role. Do make sure you take notes, grab a notebook and pen. This session is here to really help you discover how can you improve your plans for success to get the best out of this year and beyond. So I want to first of all dive into brain health and the 5 pillars of brain health. And why do I want to do that? Well, because it's really important, as I said, that we look at what we want through the lens of brain health. Now, our brains are extremely powerful organs. They're responsible for how we feel, how we think, how we act, how we connect, and how we sense the world around us, which is remembered by the 5 pillars of brain health through the mnemonic facts: feelings, actions, connections, thoughts, and surroundings. And our brain is also our organ of intelligence, character, and every decision that you make. So you want to be focused on, if you are planning for success this year, is leveraging your brain to best effect so that you can really truly get what you want, so that you can accomplish the tasks that you set yourself. So how do we really do that? Well, let's take a quick dive into the 5 pillars of brain health. So if we think of ourselves as a whole entity and we have a well-being associated with ourselves, so it's about being well, then our well-being can be broken down into 4 quadrants. The top left is our emotional well-being. So these are our feelings. How are we feeling? And I talked earlier about the importance of connecting what we want, or any resolutions or goals or anything that we set, with an emotion, so that we're emotionally attached to something, because our brains are driven by emotions. We either want to move towards something that is going to give us pleasure, or we want to move away from something that is causing us pain at a very basic level. And what we want to do is we want to leverage our emotions that we have. And any emotion is okay. It's great to have emotions, and emotions, don't last forever. Emotions last for around about 90 seconds. But if we keep reminding ourselves about the emotions, then we can keep repeating them. And what we often do is we keep reminding ourselves about negative emotions, because our thoughts, which is our mental well-being, keep playing negative self-talk, negative self-talk, negative self-talk, negative self-talk. Keeps going over and over and over again. And so we keep driving these emotions that aren't serving us. So what we want to be doing, and that's how the New Year's resolutions fall over, is we get ourselves in this thought cycle of, I failed, I failed, I failed, I failed, I'm a disappointment, I'm not good enough, I can't do it. And so all of these emotions related to any past failures surface again, and we become disappointed in ourselves, or disappointed in whoever has set the goal for us, if it's been set by somebody else. And it's not going to serve us unless we leverage that disappointment to ignite us into action. So that's our emotional well-being, and it's the oldest part of our brain. Our emotions are driven by the oldest part of our brain, deep in our amygdala, and I'll come on to that in a minute. And so they will always override our cognitive thinking part of our brain. That's why it's so important that we set something up for ourselves that serves us to keep our emotions in check, so we are able to think logically and bring on that logical thinking part of our brain, and not get it overtaken by our emotional brain, which is the older part of our brain and has more power and control over our thinking brain. So the next quadrant of our well-being is our physical well-being, and this is everything about what we do. So what's important here is we need to understand what is it we truly want, so that we can match our behaviors, our actions, to help us get what we want. And physical well-being isn't just about doing sports. Physical well-being is everything that we do, the actions that we take from a workplace perspective, from a self-care perspective, from a community engagement perspective, a sleep, exercise, nutrition, anything that you do falls under the physical well-being quadrant. That is an activity, action. Then we have our mental well-being, which is the bottom right quadrant. And what is this, you may ask yourself? Well, this is your clarity of thought, and this is what I want to help you with today. So this is activating our prefrontal cortex, which is our human part of our brain, the bit that helps us to think logically. And this is the newest part of our brain. So it's really easy for that to go offline. And it can go offline when we drink alcohol, for example. It can go offline when we're tired. It can go offline when we're stressed, because our emotional brain is overactive and it shuts down our ability to think clearly, because our emotions are driving our behaviors. So it's really, really important that we establish routines and strategies and have the right tools and techniques in place, so that we can truly activate our cognitive thinking part of our brain, our prefrontal cortex, so that we can give ourselves the space, that emotional freedom, to strategize about what we want to do, and also make sure that we are not going through the process of strategizing, activating unhelpful emotions that then turn off our cognitive thinking part of our brain and stop us from being able to think clearly and help us determine what it is that we want and how we're going to get there. So that's our mental well-being, and that's really deeply tied into the fourth pillar of brain health, which is T, and that's for thoughts. Then we have our spiritual well-being, and this is something that we really don't necessarily talk about. People think it's some woo-woo, spiritual sense in terms of connecting with a God, and that is not what spiritual well-being is. Spiritual well-being is connecting to yourself, to your core values and beliefs, connecting to others, connecting to the planet, connecting to nature, connecting to a higher sense of purpose or a higher power that goes beyond yourself. It's that human connection that we need, we crave, and we love, but not just to other people, but the need to connect to our authentic self, to something that gives us meaning, to find meaning in things, so that we can really move forward in life and get fulfillment out of life. And then if you think of this framework, these four quadrants, as a target, is what we want to be focusing on is doing the activities, connecting with our emotions, connecting with our behaviors, connecting with our thoughts, connecting with our values, our purpose and beliefs, and other people that are going to serve us. So if our target is ourselves, our target is our goals, if you put the goals in the center, we really want to dial in and make sure we stay focused on what we want out of ourselves, what we want out of the year, what we want out of our life, tying those four quadrants together. So we're looking at our holistic self. And then, as with any target, there's lots of distractions. So what we want to do is make sure that we minimize distractions, and our surroundings wrap around that entire framework. And our surroundings can support us, or our surroundings can diminish us. And that's not just the surroundings in terms of our present time, but it can also be the surroundings that we've grown up in, which could have been really destructive and not serving us in a way that was helping us move forward. And so we may have past emotions tied into the environment that we were growing up with, whether the surroundings, the toxicity in the surroundings was associated with physical toxicity or toxicity from people that were either doing us harm or not serving us in the best way that they could do. And so it's really important we think about what is it we want out of the year by really dialing into those 4 quadrants, really thinking about, okay, what emotions do I want to show up with? What behaviors, what physical activities do I need to do to help me plan for success this year? What mental activities, what learning, what strategizing, what thinking, what self-talk do I need to have in place to help me accomplish my goals? And what spiritual well-being do I need to dial in on? How can I truly connect with my core values, with my beliefs? What indeed are those core values, which is all, this is all detailed in the Plan for Success course. What are those core values that are really going to be my moral compass in life? How can I connect with people that are really going to serve me? Who are those people? And how can I connect with that higher sense of purpose? How can I establish the things that are meaningful in my life, and how do I really move forward in that sense? So I hope that is clear, but it's key here in order for us to truly plan for success. This isn't just about financial success. We're talking about success across our whole life and across the year. And the key thing here is I've not talked once about setting resolutions. I'm really focusing on helping you understand and helping you get what you want. And we'll go through how do you do that in the next section. So just in terms of our brain systems and behaviours, for a little bit of background, that for those that don't know, is our brain myelinates from back to front. So it matures from the back of our brain to the front of our brain. And our cerebellum, which is the purple part of our brain in the bottom right, is our processor of our brain. So we want that to be working really well. Babies, when their brains really come online, we go through huge development in the early parts of our lives. The occipital lobe, which is the first part of our brain, comes online, and their eyesight starts to develop, and they're able to process visual information. Then we have the sensory processing and sense of direction comes online next, the parietal lobe, and that is that's how babies learn to walk and move their arms and everything else. And then finally, the brain continues to myelinate over time, and the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for our focus, forethought, and impulse control, and all of the logical thinking part of our brain, comes on last. And our brain does not fully mature until we're about 25 as females and 28 as males. So it's really important that we set up appropriate tools and techniques and frameworks and give ourselves the systems that are going to support us in leveraging the best out of our brain, when in essence through most of our childhood and early adulthood we are emotionally driven beings. So it's very hard for kids to think sensibly, to manage impulse control, to have a degree of focus, to have any forethought, because that part of their brain isn't fully developed. And if you are someone who has experienced trauma or your brain habits weren't healthy earlier on in your life, that level of maturity can be delayed. So your brain will not mature as fast as everyone else's. And so your prefrontal cortex will come on later as well. So it's really vital that we take the time to acknowledge this. And if you do have kids who struggle to plan and decide what they want out of this year, then this is a great opportunity for them to learn some very simple yet powerful tools to help them get what they want. And then finally, on the left and right side of our brain are our temporal lobes. These are responsible for memory, learning, mood stability, and visual and auditory processing. Now, all the surfaces of our brain are vulnerable to any head trauma that we may experience, whether we get punched or kicked in the head, whether we fall off a bike, whether we fall out of a tree, play contact sports such as football or rugby. Because our brain is really soft and it's housed in a very hard skull. And it's very easy because of the fact that our brain can wobble, because it's the consistency of butter and our skull is incredibly hard. As our brain wobbles, if it gets hit, and we can damage the prefrontal cortex of our brain, and we can also, depending on the way in which the brain has moved around, we can damage other regions of our brain as well. So if you have experienced any kind of head trauma, or you have conditions such as ADD that run in the family, you've been diagnosed with that yourself, then you may find it really hard to do planning, to determine what you want, to take the time to strategize and think, because every time you try to focus, your brain goes offline if you have ADD, and it makes it really hard. So any tools that we have that I'm presenting here today can be really powerful for you to help you focus in a way that isn't going to be overwhelming, and give yourself that freedom, as well as a disciplined approach to help you get what you want. So if we go inside the brain, the region that is the oldest part of our brain is our deep limbic system. And either side of that that's right by the brainstem. And on either side, we have the amygdala, which are two really small almond-sized shapes in our brain, next to the deep limbic system, which is a region of our brain that's responsible for fight, flight, freeze, or defensive rage. And this is the deep limbic system. The amygdala is what really gets activated, what really comes online if we are emotionally charged. And it's really important, therefore, that we manage those emotions. We let those emotions happen, but we understand what they are, so that we give our brain the opportunity to calm itself down, and that allows us to bring our prefrontal cortex online to allow us to do the planning and the strategizing that we really want to do. So when you are taking the time out, which you are now, to do the planning, is to make sure that you are in a safe, comfortable space. We're thinking about the 5 pillars of brain health, that your surroundings are a nice place to be in, that you've got the clarity to think clearly, that you're connecting with your core values, that you're connecting with yourself, that you're doing the activities that are going to support you in terms of showing up, and that your emotions are in a state that you are in control of them and they're not in control of you. And that will then allow you to activate your prefrontal cortex in a way that's effective, rather than playing a fight between your deep limbic system, the older parts of your brain, including your amygdala, and the more human part of your brain, which is your prefrontal cortex, and the deep limbic system will always win. So the next brain system that is important in terms of understanding how planning can affect you is your basal ganglia. That's your pleasure, your motivation. It's responsible for adjusting movements, and it's also your anxiety centers. So this is the bit that will come online if you're starting to get really anxious and general anxiety. And people can often have general anxiety when it comes to planning. So it's finding, again, creating the environment, looking at your 5 pillars of brain health to really find ways in which you can calm those anxiety centers down, so that you have the opportunity to bring your prefrontal cortex online. And then finally, you've got your anterior cingulate gyrus. This is your gear shifter, responsible for flexibility, cooperation, and error detection. This part of my brain is overactive. So it's often my way or the highway for people who have higher activity in this part of their brain. It's got to be done their way or no way. They can respond with no, no, no. Kids and teens are often like this because their anterior cingulate gyrus is highly active in your teens, and they can very easily detect errors, so they get very frustrated if there's errors in place. So they're really laser focused on the things that are going wrong rather than the things that are going right. So if you are somebody that is like that, it's quite possible you might have to take some time out for yourself to calm your anterior cingulate gyrus down, so you're not on this mouse wheel of got to be this way, got to be this way, got to be this way, to give yourself that time to think and strategize. So this is probably the most important part of this webinar, is to help you know what you want. And we're going to really work through the one-page miracle sheet in this presentation. And you'll be able to find this in the Plan for Success course. And it's available in there also in an editable format. So you can, write in it electronically and do what you want with it. But this is an incredibly powerful tool. And the reason it's so powerful is because you take the time during this piece is to understand, what do you really want out of the 4 sectors of your life? What is it that you truly want? And the reason it's so important to do this is when you know what you want, you can determine what behaviors you need to adopt to help you get what you want. Why is that so important? Because when I spoke earlier about New Year's resolutions, we don't take the time to think about, what is it I really want to do this year? What do I want to have accomplished this year? What do I want to get out of my relationships? What do I want to get out of work? What do I want to get out of my community engagement? What do I want to get out? What do I want to accomplish from a financial perspective? What do I want to accomplish personally from a self-care and development perspective? What is it I truly want? And when you really think about that, and we're not talking about physical goals and targets in this first instance, this is about taking the time to write down, what do I want? So what is it that you truly want? What do you want in your relationships this year? What do you want from your relationships? If you have a spouse or a partner, a loved one, what is it you want out of that relationship this year? What do you want out of your relationship with any children that you have? What do you want out of relationships that you have with your family? What do you want out of relationships you have with your friends? And relationships are really important, that connection to others. And think about relationships that you have at work. What do you want in that context? Because relationships is that kind of deep connection. And when the relationships are really working well, we are emotionally connected with those people. We are physically connected often with people, particularly if we can have that contact where we can have physical interaction and we can see people physically rather than just virtually. That's really important. It's obviously difficult from a COVID perspective, but we also want to have connection mentally. So we want to be mentally stimulated by people, or you may not want to be, but when we're mentally stimulated by people, that really helps us build a deeper connection. And then that spiritual connection with people, the relationships that you have, is that in alignment? Do they have the same values as you? Do they want what you want? Do they have the same goals that you have? What is it that they want out of life? What is it they're connected to? Do they love to connect with nature? Do they love to connect with God? Do they have a spiritual connection, a religion that they really embrace and they want to spend more time with? Do they want to connect with something that's much bigger than them, with a mission that they may have that is beyond themselves, that is something where they want to help others, whether that's a community or government level or a global level? What is it they want, where they'll find that real sense of meaning and purpose? And then the next quadrant, or the next sector in your life, is your work and your community. So what do you want out of the work that you do? Do you want to get a promotion? What is it you want to have in terms of fulfillment at work? And what if you're not working? That's totally okay, but work also includes activities, hobbies and things like that you love. What the work that you do within your community, what is it you want out of any community engagement that you do and community activities? What do you want to feel and accomplish at an emotional, a physical, a mental and a spiritual level? And then the third sector is finances. What are your short-term or long-term objectives from a financial perspective? And then finally, what do you want personally, from a personal self-care perspective and from a personal growth perspective? And when I'm talking about self-care, I'm not just talking about emotional, physical and mental. I'm talking about all four quadrants: your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, your mental well-being and your spiritual well-being. So really take the time, using the download that you've been given, to check out of your electronic devices, check into your mind, get these thoughts out of your mind and onto paper, to help you really dial in on what you want. And you may write this for this year, you may write it in a general statement. And the reason we do this one-page miracle piece of work is because if you can put it on one page, you can put it as almost a manifesto next to your computer, on your fridge, in your kitchen, in your bathroom, so that when you get up in the morning, when you turn your computer on, when you open the fridge door, you can look and see, okay, what is it that I want, or what is it that my family truly want out of life? And are we doing the things? Are we adopting the behaviors? Are we showing up in an emotional level? Are we showing up at a physical level? Are we showing up at a mental level? And are we showing up at a spiritual level to help us get what we want? So if we look at the one-page miracle sheet in the example, now I have produced a generic example, which is for me personally and what I want out of life in terms of the relationship with my partner. So here I've written, I want to have a kind, loving, trusting relationship where we're deeply connected emotionally, physically, mentally and spiritually. Now, that may be different for you. You may like that statement. You may want to write your own one. But what does that mean? So if that's what you truly want, how are you going to get it? Now, there's 1,000 different ways that you can get it. So what do you need to do to have a kind relationship? What do you need to do to have a loving relationship? What is it that will help you have a trusting relationship? How can you foster deeper connection emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually? And so for me, how do I do this? How do I make sure I accomplish that for this year with my partner? Is we look at how can we better connect emotionally? What activities will help us connect more emotionally? What activities will help us connect more physically? And if you've read the book, The 5 Love Languages, hopefully you'll know what your love language is, and you can do a test online to establish what that love language is. Now, I have different love languages to my husband, and so it's about understanding what those differences are and making sure that you're giving each other what they want at an emotional, physical, mental and spiritual level, so that you can have that kind, trusting, loving relationship where you really are deeply connected at all levels. And then obviously, things you can do, what could you do? You could say, okay, well, I want to spend more time going to restaurants together, or maybe we collectively cook a dinner at home, and we allocate a day a week that's us time. Or you might say, okay, we're going to end up to have more physical connection, and to feel that we're deeply connected physically. We're going to put a stop on bedtime. We're going to make sure both of us are going to commit to going to bed at a certain time, and then allocate a window of time so we can connect physically. Spiritually is understanding what your values are, what you want to do, what your purpose is beyond yourself. So for me, I love connecting with nature, and it's important for me that I do have that connection with nature with my family. So you might say, okay, I'm going to spend time, I'm going to allocate once a month, we're going to go out in nature, or once a week, or we're going to do 30 minutes a day. There's lots of different ways that you can accomplish this, and you've got to decide, once you've written down what you want, is decide, how am I going to get there? And it may be you do it once a quarter. You may allocate a block of time, like a holiday, to help you get what you want. So that is it from the relationships perspective. And then from a children, what do you want? I want, again, a kind, loving, open and honest relationship with my children. I have a daughter called Lily, where they feel safe to express themselves. That's massively important to me, is empowering her to express her emotions, giving her that space and that permission to express whatever those emotions are. And as I said, emotions last for about 90 seconds. So it's not too much to ask to allow children to express themselves in whatever way that is, and acknowledge that they're expressing themselves and having those emotions, so that they feel that when they are older and they're having real struggles, and as I mentioned, our children's brains are emotionally charged throughout all of their life, is that they feel that you are that safe haven where they can go and talk to you about some struggles you're having. So a classic example is my husband wanting to go cycling at the weekend, and my daughter and I, we went to a play barn so she could go and play. And she said to me, "Mummy, I'm really concerned. I want to go home and find out what's the matter with Daddy." And she's 3 years old. And it was brilliant for me that she was able to express her concern and her worries, because she felt that something was wrong, because we weren't typically together as a family. So it's really important for me that I create that safe space so my daughter can truly express herself. So next one with your family is treat my family as I'd like to be treated, have a personable, loving and caring relationship with them. Now, depending on how strong your family connection is, you may want to put different things in there that suit you. But then the question is how is it you're going to get what you want out of that a statement that you've written? And then for my friendships is I want them to be one of compassion and kindness, where I can show up as my authentic self. So I don't have any judgment, and that I'm going to connect with people who are going to help me grow, and I can help them grow. And that's really important, because for me, we can spend an exorbitant amount of our time and energy with friends that don't serve us and that suck the life out of us. and they're almost energy thieves or oxygen thieves. And it's really important for me that I put this statement out there, because then I can say, okay, if I'm connecting with that person, is that helping me get what I want from a friendship perspective? And that helps you, that gives you permission to choose who your friends are, because it's important you have friends that actually are friends and fulfill what you want in life. And this isn't being selfish. This is just making sure you're getting more meaning out of your life. So work and school or community support, I want my work to inspire me. I want to empower others to unchain, unlock and unleash their full potential so that they can step into their best self. I want my contribution to make a difference. And I also want to feel valued. And feeling valued is really, really important. I want to feel that my contribution is actually of value to people, and people are getting something from it that is really going to help them, and that I'm important to them, and that my existence really is important. And this comes back to having meaning. So what is it you want out of your work? And it can be completely different for you. And then finally, we have our community, and decide what it is you want from your community. So then we go into the next part, is our financial goals, our short-term goals. I want to earn what's necessary to support my family's growth, what your long-term goals are. And when you think about yourself, is this around thinking about what do I want physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually? So physically, I want to be energized in the morning, ready and motivated to take on the day. How is that going to, what do I need to do to get there? Emotionally, I want to feel deeply connected with my core values and be able to express my personal struggles and vulnerabilities confidently, to help others without fear of emotional imbalance. Mentally, I want to have the clarity of thought necessary for me to show up at work and be learning the topics that inspire me and help me with my personal and professional growth. So that's really important, is dialing in on my learning that is going to help me grow professionally and personally, and also creating that space to have that clarity of thought. And that comes back to managing my emotional health. And then spiritually, I want to feel deeply connected to my purpose, my values and beliefs, and have a strong and diverse network of growth friends, be able to show up as my best self and feel congruent with the best of me. So what is it for you personally? What is it you want from a self-care, a personal development, personal growth perspective, which is very different to the other 3 quadrants that we talked about earlier? And then once you've established what you want, then it's about deciding what steps are necessary to help me get what I want. What steps are necessary for me to take in my relationships? What steps are necessary for me to take in work and community? What steps are necessary from a financial perspective? What is it I need to do in order to get what I want there? And what do I need to do from a self-care perspective to achieve that one-page miracle that I've set for myself? And this is really worthwhile, taking the time to think about, okay, how can I get what I want? What options are there for me to do? And what is it I'm most emotionally attached to? And this emotional attachment, I can't impress it more, is really important, because the stronger your emotional bond, the faster you will get what you want. So then how do you build your plan to get what you want? Well, the best starting point, once you've written your one-page miracle sheet, and once you've spent the time looking at the options to help you get what you want, is put that one-page miracle sheet to the side, and then look at your one-page yearly planner and go to myself, okay, what's my vision for this year? What's my vision from a relationships perspective? What's my vision from a a work perspective or community engagement perspective? What's my vision from a financial perspective? What's my vision for a self-care and personal growth perspective? What is it that I want in the year? What do I want to have accomplished for that year? And then if you've got certain goals, the first thing to do is, before you put in any of your big bars of activity to help you get what you want, is to take the time to put holiday time in, to put in that important connection time, starting with your relationships and the relationship you have with yourself. Is decide when you can going to create that window of time that you can protect to give yourself that important downtime, that recharge time, that reboot time, that connection time that's so vitally important, and get those blocks marked out in your one-page yearly planner. Doesn't mean you have to decide where you're going to go on holiday. It doesn't mean you have to decide what you want to do, but have a think, and you may already have done this, but have a think about, okay, how many days a year, when my husband and I discuss this, how many days does my husband want to take off this year? He wants to take 28 days off this year. So how are we going to map that into our yearly planner? When are those blocks of time going to be? Are we going to do 1 day, 2 day, however many days? What's that where are those windows going to be? And that then allows you to plan, okay, if I want to have more physical connection with my partner or my family, I want to have a spiritual connection with nature, how can I schedule that into those time blocks so I can get what I really want? So do that first. And then the next thing is to think about, okay, what is it I want to truly accomplish? What are my 3 main projects for the year that are important to me to help me fulfill my vision? So, and the steps that I'll need to take to get there. So put your 5 key milestone steps, the key moves that you need to take in order to accomplish that project. And then you can block out time that relates to those projects. Now, you might not have a project. You might have a self-care project. You know, don't just think of it as a workplace project. It may be a self-care project where you may take a window of time. Okay, so for me, I want to run a 10K race this year. I've set it in for March. My project, in order to be able to do that, is to spend time doing the running training in order to accomplish the goal that I've set, that physical self-care piece for March. It may be you have a work-related project. You may want to be bringing a course online. You may want to get promotion. It could be anything. Make sure you put the time in, the blocks of time. Okay, what are the key moves I need to do in order to get that promotion? How am I going to get there? And when do I need to, if my goal is to get promoted by June, and that's the sort of cutoff date, what steps do I need working backwards in order to accomplish that? So block out the key moves, put the milestone dates in for the key moves, and that will really help you get what you want. And then you can build this brilliant plan on a page, and you can do it for your family. You know, you you can have key projects for each member of your family, or each family member can do their own 1-page yearly planner and decide, okay, what do I want to do this year? You may want to write down what your learning goal. You may have a particular learning project. You may want to learn crochet, for example, and you're going to spend a certain period of time learning crochet, or you may want to write a book, or what is it that you want and how you're going to get there, and then work back. And then if you look at the bottom quadrant of this 1-page yearly planner, is really, what is it? How do you need to show up? So what behaviors do you need to adopt? What habits do you need to have? What thoughts do you need to have? What feelings do you need to express? And who do you really need to connect with? Beliefs you need to adopt in order to help you get what you want, in order to achieve the goals you set yourself for that year, to accomplish the projects, to achieve the learning goals you set, to take the time out with your family. How are you going to show up? What mindset are you going to adopt in a year's perspective? And just write down some statements. I need to be focused. I need to be connected, for example. What is it that you need to accomplish or how is it you are going to show up personally? How are you going to bring your authentic self? How are you going to bring your values into play in order to help you get what you want? And this is really, really useful planner. My clients love it. Because you can put everything on a page, and then once you've done that planning, you can then block out the time in your calendar. You can use it as your framework, put it next to your one-page miracle sheet, and keep that check and balance, and tick off your days if you want to. Yeah, I'm on, wherever you are in the year, and track your progress. And then we're going just to go down one level is to look at your 100-day plan. Now, this may be too much detail for some people, but I've put it here in any case. You can get access to this 100-day plan, the actual template where you can do all the changes and fill it in electronically through my Plan for Success course. And this gives you a 100-day window to look at. So here we're looking at what's my 100-day vision. So think of it as almost a quarterly planner. What's my 100-day vision? When that plan going to start and stop? What focus statements do I need to have for myself to accomplish that vision? So when I'm talking about 100-day vision, we go back to what I want on those 4 sectors of life: relationships, work and community, finances, and self-care. And then what feelings are required to achieve that vision? So statements you need to say to yourself, like, I can do this. This is tapping into our thought processes. And then feelings you need to adopt. And when we connect with the feelings we want, when we think about them, the positive feelings that move us forward, we are more likely to get what we want. And then what you can do is, if you have particular milestones, and I'll come on to that in the next page, is you can map key tasks, key activities, key win blocks of time based on your yearly planner. Look at your yearly plan. Okay, in the next 20 days or in the next this weekend or that weekend, I'm going to connect with my family, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So take the time to look at your yearly planner. Take the time to think about, okay, what activities do I need to do? Do I want to accomplish in 100 days that will support me moving towards getting what I want? So in your activities, so this is now, what activities do I want to accomplish? What do I want to complete? When do I want to complete them by? And you map this back to your 100-day plan. So you've got your milestones. So you may just put milestone 1, put numbers in your plan, in your 100-day plan that we shown on the previous slide, to help you get what you want. And then you can track your status. You can also put in your learning milestones. So for me, I put in, for things I want to complete or accomplish, I might say, okay, I want to connect with my family this weekend. I want to connect with my husband's family, and we're going to schedule the time in this time to do that piece of connection. And I've already written it in my annual plan. We've blocked some windows of time of when we want to connect. I want to go on holiday. I want to finish a project. I want to do a marathon. I want to run an event. I want to take my daughter away. I want to go sledging. Whatever it is that you want to do, put it in your 100-day plan that fits in that window. And then you can look at what your learning goals are. Is it you want to do a course? Write down all the course modules. So Plan for Success, for example, the course that supports this webinar it's a 6-week program. So you can write down all the modules that you want to work through in your learning program. Okay, this week I'm going to do module 1. This week I'm going to do module 2. Or write down the lessons that relate to the module. There's normally 3 lessons per module. Put those lessons down. Whatever works for you, so that you feel like you're accomplishing things. And that will then really help you build some momentum to know that you are on track and moving. And on track doesn't mean you're not going to fall off track. It doesn't mean that you're going at a massive speed, but it means that you've got a strategy and you've got a plan that you can work against. And, you know, no plan survives first contact, as they say. So, you know, be prepared for the plan to shift, but at least you've got something, a handrail that you can hold on to and go, okay, if I just keep walking, if I just keep focusing on this, yes, it might take me longer, because if you're not familiar with how long things will take, because you've never tracked it before, then you're going to have some flex in your plan, but at least you know you're moving towards getting what you want. And then, and then finally, you can look at the targets you want to set for yourself. This isn't about accomplishment, it's about numbers. So how many things, that if you think about financial targets, what do you want to have accomplished financially within that 100-day plan, for example? How many times, if you want to track times, how many times would you like to have connected with people? How many times do you want to have sent emails? What is it that you, how many clients do you want to have on your books? How many people do you want to have connected with? What's the growth objectives you're setting for yourself? How many books do you want to have read? And then you can track yourself and count what you've accomplished depending on the milestones you set. So you can see there's a tracker below. You tick when one of those targets has been accomplished, and then you can see how you're performing within that 100-day plan. Now, all of these templates that you've got in PDF are all available in the Plan for Success course. If you choose to sign up, they're all available digitally, so you can edit them to your heart's content. And then, so how do we really plan for success? So I talked about this a little bit. We dial back into the 5 pillars of brain health, is looking at our feelings, our action, remembered by the mnemonic facts: feelings, actions, connections, thoughts, and surroundings. And this is around, we need to really create the space in our lives, emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually, so that that includes time. So it's that space-time, important space-time continuum, to get clarity on what you want. And that's building that 1-page miracle sheet. That is really, really key. And then the next step is getting the planning tools and techniques to really minimize your stress and overwhelm. I've presented some here. There's many more in the Plan for Success course to help you with mini projects, to help you with the 5-year plan. There's lots of tools and techniques to help you do the check and balance, to make sure that you're not getting overwhelmed with the task at hand and not getting overwhelmed with what you need to do. And that's why I've tried to make it really, really simple, so that you can have this something visual on a single page. And then you really need to learn, when the going gets tough, when we get curveballs like COVID, how do you stay focused and on course when the storm hits? And what is that handrail that you've got to hold on to help you stay focused? Then it's really important, and we don't take this time, is to connect with your core values and beliefs, so that they can act as your moral compass and guide to help you get what you want. And we know through the 15 years of planning I've done, that the devil is in the detail. So it's having the tools to identify where the devil is, so that we're prepared for those curveballs, so we're prepared for all the steps that we need to take, and we're not just doing big hand, small map syndrome. And then knowing how to effectively reflect and learn, so we're not repeating our mistakes. And we see this, often we have this kind of cycle where we don't take that time to pause and go, okay, what went well and what didn't go well, and what can I really learn from it? And there's great tools in the Plan for Success course to really know how to do that effectively. And I go through the framework, the pearls of wisdom, to really help you do that. So what are your next steps in terms of planning for success for this year and beyond? Well, first is to really apply the steps recommended in this webinar as applicable to your situation and needs, and really focusing not just on one aspect of your life, but look at the 4 sectors of your life: your relationships, your work and community activities, your finances, and your self-care. Because we can spend a lot of our time focusing on one aspect of our life, and that's doing really well, yet everything else starts crashing around us. So the frameworks I've given you here now today in this webinar are here to help you plan for success, not just for one aspect of your life, but through your whole life, looking at you as a whole person. And then I really would encourage you to sign up for the online course Plan for Success, which is there to support you in learning the strategies and tools for you and your family to truly plan for success this year and beyond in all aspects of your life. Now, I'm going to go to the page. You will get 30% off this course. As I mentioned, you'll have all of the tools and techniques available digitally in this course that I've presented here today, as well as this presentation as well, to really help you plan for success, as well as those 6 modules where we'll go through all of the things that will really help you set yourself up for success for this year and beyond. If you want to take advantage of this limited time offer, which is 30% off the Plan for Success course, then please make sure you use the coupon code BrainHealth30 and visit the store page. You can go through my website to access that on my shop page. You'll get a link straight after this presentation, and you'll see the link below. Or if you want something bespoke for yourself, to really help you plan for success for your family, for a project, for a program, and you want to learn how to leverage the brain health principles that I've discussed in this webinar to really help you, your family, or your organization, then please do connect with us. Make sure you arrange a 15-minute consultation so that we can really discuss your needs and make sure we serve you best. If you have any questions, please make sure you post in the chat below this webinar so we can serve you the best way we can. Please don't hesitate to email us at support@ruthmaryallen.com. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. I wish you every success this year. Get yourself ready to plan for success, and I look forward to joining you soon when you sign up to the program.